Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining me on yet another edition of the Richard Listens podcast. I thank you for being with me and supporting me through this quarantine and crisis, and in bringing forth high content, high value guests. Today, I will move into the field of human performance and what it means to optimize human performance. Thank you again for all your listeners out there who've been following me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Richard Listens. And if you haven't been to my patreon.com/Richard Listens page for advanced content and ways to support the show, please do so and recommend at least 2 friends this week while you're sitting at home, taking a break from all the media out there. Do something good to contribute to the show. We appreciate it. I have gratitude for you. Without you and my tribe, none of this would be possible. My guest who's patiently waiting, Mr. Jim Goetz, who is the Chief of Human Performance for Functionized, will be talking to us about an array of services to ensure you operate at your peak, whether you stay at home or a workaholic or high-powered CEO or an athlete of any level, from Olympic to professional. They work at you to increase and get to your higher level. They have an array of services from peak performance coaches, wellness coaching, biofeedback, balance testing, concussion treatments and testing, functional nutrition, genetic testing, and they operate with full chiropractic services as well. So without further ado, I will be introducing my guest, Mr. Jim Goetz. Hello, Jim. Can you hear me? Hi, Jim.
Hey, how's it going today?
Not bad. Thank you so much for your patience and diligence and follow-up.
Absolutely.
I'm doing okay. I'm in sunny California, and I've got video available. You're welcome to share yours, or we can keep it as audio, whatever works best for you.
Yeah.
Hey,
Here we are. Beautiful
that...
Colts Neck, New Jersey inside compared to your beautiful California weather.
Yes, this has become the new place where I do teletherapy underneath the lemon tree.
Love it.
I could turn that into a book, maybe a story of how we navigated the quarantine someday.
Beneath lemon tree. That's a good title. Catchy.
So I was reading my listeners, and again, I'm here with Jim Goetz, and I was reading your entire profile of services that you offer at Functionized Integrative Therapeutics. Are you, and you're a doctor of chiropractic yourself?
Correct.
Correct.
I've got all those years of education under my belt.
And I've seen, pictures of you with athletes. Are you a weightlifter yourself, or athlete? How did you come to this area of interest, intersecting health and athletic performance?
Sure. I grew up playing sports like every little kid. I kept on playing, though. I was fortunate enough in high school as a free sport athlete and just loved baseball, and continued on through college. And one day when everybody is told, unfortunately, that the words no one ever wants to hear is, "You're not good enough." So unfortunately, I was not good enough anymore to play in the professional level, but I still love the game. Still played at a very, very high level in college. University of Tampa is now a 7-time national champion. I love saying that.
Wow.
But I wanted to stay in the game, so I got into strength conditioning. And it was the weirdest thing on how I even got there. Sitting in my dorm one day, I was a communication major, and I just was not liking it. I liked doing the videos, but I just wasn't thriving in it. And my girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife, and my roommate, who I play ball with, they said, "Well, you love to work out, so why don't you major in that?" And so, you can major in working out? Seriously? That's ridiculous.
Wish somebody told me that.
Right? So I literally went over to the head of the department, found out it was a real thing, went to the registrar, changed majors, and was fortunate enough after baseball, I got a job with the Toronto Blue Jays so I could stay in baseball at the professional level. Over some time, evolving, I realized I kind of needed more. I just loved how the human body worked and wanted to make it work better. And I was visiting a doctor of chiropractic actually in Tampa by the name of Dr. Shaker. And when I walked into his office, literally every pro athlete that I'd ever seen on a Florida team had their picture with him on the wall. And after my visit with him, he, instead of sending me over to get the check paid, he said, come to my office. So, what did I do? He sat down with me and went over the profession, what it took to be a part of it, said he really thought I would thrive in it. And I eventually went to chiropractic school and delved in. First day was cadaver lab, and literally I want to know the human body more, and there's the human bodies. And
chiropractic's really shifted, right? Because when I graduated University of Florida in '93, I remember visiting chiropractic, and people were kind of dubious or distrustful or just weren't quite ready to accept it. Now I'm sure that every major sports team has somebody working in physical therapy and chiropractic who they're utilizing probably daily.
Yes. I mean, the United States Olympic team has a doctor of chiropractic. A couple years ago, a chiropractor was actually the head physician for Team USA. I know Tony Robbins himself has a chiropractor, flies with him every single where he goes. And while individuals and pro athletes utilize chiropractic, it's still kind of that stigma that you're talking about in the general public of, whack and crack you, send you on your way, they treat back pain, and that's it, which is kind of a shame because we went through a very, very, very in-depth medical education. I mean, pharmacology, orthopedics, neurology, psychology, a ton of x-ray, and we were taught how to diagnose. And then based on that diagnosis is the treatment. Unfortunately, chiropractors still find that they don't need to take all those steps. So while it's evolving, it still hasn't gotten where I think it could go in the general public side. But when it comes to the elite athlete, high-power CEO, they take their doctor of chiropractic with them everywhere they go.
Yeah, and I have an inversion table in my home. It really helps with blood flow and has almost eliminated back pain. So somehow it's kind of seeped in, right? Everybody's got a foam roller now, like elongating blood flow. Really become a lot more at least in the athlete's eye of awareness of how to take care of your body in the long run. But you mentioned the combinations, and I always say that I'm treating high performers. What do you see at Functionized is the commonality between athletes, CEOs, people of high pressure and intense professions?
Number one thing is they show up every day. So many individuals, I don't want to call it the layperson, but the individuals that have not achieved at a professional level, what athletes, CEOs do is those guys, they show up every day, and even if they feel like absolute garbage, they still give 100% effort in what they do. It may take a little bit goading out of them at times, but they're still there and they're still doing it. Whereas an individual that has not achieved that level of success in the professional arena, they don't have to show up all the time. They cheat on their programs, the routines, little things that they're supposed to do, the nuances. They kind of pass over and let those old habits take place.
And you have a unique focus for what you're trying to get athletes and peak performers to, right? Are you introducing them to some of these concepts when they come in? Is there like an educational process?
Yeah, absolutely. Just because somebody is, we'll talk about professional athletes, for instance. Most professional athletes are absolute genetic freaks of nature. They can run faster, they can jump higher, they can lift more. They've got reaction times that are faster than 99% of the population. Those that get to that level, though, find themselves surrounded by everyone else that's like that. So they can get to that level, and how far they can thrive then comes to the mental game. How much work and dedication are they willing to put in? How much time and effort are they willing to put in on things that are off the field that they can then apply on the field? And each individual, when I say is different, they really are different. I mean, you can't really yell at somebody with a megaphone if they are going to start bawling their eyes out, curl into a ball, and go into a corner. Yet some individuals need the yelling, the screaming, the 2x4 across the head, and then they perform even better. One of my partners that I went to chiropractic school with is one of those guys. If he is not giving forth 100% and you call him out on it, he'll pick it up. My wife, though, who is also an athlete and work with her, if you do that, she will just curl up and kind of shut it down for the day. So there's both extremes, and just knowing how to talk to individuals, how much hands-on attention they need, what to be said, how to be said, what to have them do. Sometimes you can give people a entire encyclopedia and say, do this right now. For others, you have to really break it down many steps by many steps. And the secret really is not so much a secret, it's getting to know who you're working with. And if you truly get to know who you're working with, truly get to know their passion, their ambitions, their goals, their weaknesses, then they can become a far better version of themselves.
And it's good for marital communication as well, to know your partner's style and what they respond.
Yeah, that helps.
They respond well to.
I had to learn the hard way. Yeah.
How is it to share business practice with your spouse? Some people say it's a real key to a lasting relationship.
I absolutely love it. We both actually love it. I don't want to speak for her, but at least what she tells people around me, she says she loves it. A lot of people come in and ask the question, how in the world can you two work together? You're with each other all day, all night. A lot of people come here just to get away from their spouses. And we come here to be together. I don't know. We seem to thrive on it, bounce off one another, and truly make each other better. I mean, if I'm having a little rough patch, she's the one to kind of boost me up, and vice versa. So we're both very grateful for that.
So how long have you been owning and working on Functionize, and how many different practitioners do you have working out of there?
Sure. We have been around now for 3 years. It's probably been a decade in the making, though, I got to say. I mean, slowly but surely, just the different nuances, the concepts, working for other people, other teams, everything that each and every one of us did kind of came together. And I didn't want just a general practice of, just chiropractic or just nutrition. I guess delving into the idea and thought pattern of biohacking and getting into different ways to tweak the physiology of the human body really was interesting. So I figured, how can I combine that with general mainstream? And that's kind of how we've been going along here with things.
Did you
get
into biohacking? Go ahead, finish.
No, when it comes to biohacking, I mean, we're not exactly injecting people with CRISPR technology type biohacking, but knowing different techniques, breathing techniques, exercise techniques, nutrition techniques, using different cold, hot therapies in different times, blood flow restriction, these just different tips and tricks that can be utilized to maximize efficiency with minimal time. And one of the things that I've realized about the CEOs, I use that as a general term, you don't have to be a CEO, but the hardworking business person that likes to grind it from sun up to sundown and truly does that, their bankroll gets bigger as well as their waistline. And their biggest complaint is they don't have enough time. I don't have enough time to work out. Well, if you can't be here for 15 minutes once a week, then it's just not going to happen. So that's what we're kind of having as a foundation of a lot of what we do. So you can get in, get out, and go back and crush your business.
Yeah, I've been referencing, I read Atomic Habits recently by James Clear, and he's been, really this principle of, right, you have to start with really small changes and small habits. And after years of a certain pathway of grinding out success and getting the dopamine from that, and not looking at the small habits, evolving diet, or taking even 15 minutes of self-care, or in my case, 45 minutes to 50 minutes, or any time where you're putting long-term health ahead of short-term health. It's and so sometimes people have to start in the smallest possible measurements of making change.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I find somebody, if they come in and they've got no signs, symptoms, all organs are supposedly working good, and all they want to do is lose, say, 30, 40 pounds. And they're going to turn their life around right here and now and make these drastic changes. I can tell them you're going to fail. it's just not going to happen. And the reason being is they're trying to do too much too fast. They have so many bad habits that, as you're saying, you've got to start small and really make those little things habits and use them as building blocks. And over time, those become habits and part of a lifestyle that you don't have to think anymore that what I'm doing is difficult. It just is second nature, like breathing.
Yeah, you mentioned, so, I'm assuming you're referring to some of the Wim Hof method of breathing, or different breathing to get more oxygenation into the blood. Did you come to this from your own education or from your own experience as an athlete?
It was my own education. I wish I knew everything I know now as an athlete 15, 20 years ago. I believe I would have been far better, but as we all say, if we could only turn back time there and take what we know now back then. As an athlete, I was just one of those guys that put my nose to the grindstone, work hard, whatever it takes. And I thought I was working smart, but I wasn't working as smart as I could have. I just outworked the competition, and it's tough to admit, but I may not have been the most talented baseball player, but my work ethic kept getting me up to the next level, and the next level, and the next level, where the stars that were around me kept falling off. But yeah, if I understood what I know now, I feel that my athletic ability would have been far better. But it is what it is, and that's why I enjoy, teaching my own son some of these techniques and what to do. He's 7.
Do you take him on the polar bear challenge, or they
he
won't
would do it.
Shower. He would do it.
He's crazy. He would do it. He's no fear, no holds barred, and competitive. I thought he was going to be taking another 10 years until we started competing in video games such as Madden or playing baseball together. And he actually beat me in a game of Madden last week. And in baseball, true, he was like 5 feet away from me hurling it, but he struck me out over the weekend. And it was legit. He got me up and hard, and I swung and missed. So it is what it is.
They have an advantage now. They can study YouTube. They can see what every pitcher throws.
Yep, absolutely.
They can watch Fox Sports. It shows them how to throw like a 4-knuckle curve or something. I don't know.
Yeah, back then it was just screwing around to see what we could figure out on our own. And now you're right. Absolutely right. They'll show you how to do it, and you can practice the right way.
Yeah, I think the book, Steve Coulter, I think it's called The Rise of Superman, talks a lot about this.
Yep.
How the advantage of YouTube and kids being able to study what Tony Hawk or other guys have done. Do you see a rise in injuries from the same phenomenon, that people are trying to do things before maybe their bodies are ready?
Yes and no. And I say that those that have adapted, for instance, basics of stretching. Back in the day, no matter what the sport was, you go and do static stretching, hold your toes, stretch your hamstrings, 10 seconds, switch to the other one. And we thought that was the right way to do things. That couldn't be farther from the truth. It was a way to calm down your central nervous system, elongate your muscles too much, create more imbalances, and causing more injuries along the way. I'm finding individuals that are reluctant to actually get out of that old paradigm, which actually comes down to the coaches, because they're teaching the younger generations the same thing. If they coaches are not teaching the younger generations properly, the younger generations are now bringing that home and getting hurt. So utilizing dynamic flexibility, using the foam rollers, these are all things that are helping. And at the level I'm coaching now, going from major leagues to little league, I'm doing my best to teach the kids now the proper ways, the ways that are only going to benefit them. And true, 7, 8-year-olds are not going to get hurt, if at all, unless they are not paying attention to getting rid of the ball. But it depends on the school of thought and where you're going with that. When it comes to professional level, I have noticed, the Yankees are a phenomenal example of what is wrong with what they're doing. Everybody's getting hurt all the time. And it's not by getting plunked with the ball. It's by walking, by jumping, by the basics. And being in the major leagues, I know that the athletic trainers, nothing against athletic trainers, but a lot of times the athletic trainers are the ones that are in charge of overseeing the entire strength conditioning program, which is prehabilitation. And depends on the individual, but hopefully the head strength conditioning coordinators who are being hired have a very high level of education and experience and know what to do. And sometimes, at least when I was with the Blue Jays, were being shut down a lot on different techniques because they were just coming out in journals, and it wasn't the understood old school way of doing things. And another thing that plays a role into injuries oftentimes is performance enhancers. When muscles are growing faster than tendons and ligaments, muscles are going to perform better, but also the joints and bones are not going to be prepared for it as well. So an individual is using performance enhancers, which is a lot different than somebody in the 50s using anti-aging therapy. Injuries will go up. You take a look at a guy who's a rookie and what they look like, and look at him 5 years later, he's bulked up a lot and starting to get a lot of injuries. You might want to double think about his testing and how accurate it may be, or if he's even getting tested at all.
Yeah. So where are we now? I know, we're in the post-steroids era, but, nowadays people are, their strength training, right, has gotten much more from a young age, right? Athletes want to, balls are flying out of the park more than ever. Are they combining more of a recovery and stretching and things like that into the overall model with athletes, or is it not caught up to incorporate some of the knowledge you've gained with the old school techniques?
I think it depends a lot on the team and the program. Some programs, they are way ahead. They are on the cutting edge of what they do. Injury rates are low. Athletes perform very high. Other teams that are not right there yet, athletes are getting hurt more and more, despite high-level performances. I mean, just because the steroid era is over, it's so easy to beat the tests. So if somebody is doing everything the right way in which the doctor tells them how to do, then they can easily beat those tests. Even SARMs, which have become a big deal now in sports. I mean, they're banned by the World Anti-Doping Association, but they're powerful, call them drugs. And being utilized in the off-season, which a lot of athletes may do, they're not necessarily going to get caught during the season, so they can take their game and start to elevate it at higher and quicker levels than ever thought before. I mean, it's a whole new level than back in high school when creatine came out. Was EAS, phosphagen, HP was the big thing back in the day. And I remember buying that the GNC, thought it was the big stuff because Yankees, I read Muscle Development, were using creatine, and everyone's yelling and screaming, saying you can't use that stuff. It could be dangerous. We don't know. And all these years later, it turns out to be one of the safest things going. And even for neurological benefits, it has been shown to be something as a supplement that everybody should be taking every day. But yeah, the world of creatine has definitely advanced when it comes to
now almost every athlete is using that, right?
Right. I mean, that's a staple.
Yeah. So, and I know you've been, working on balancing athletes, the whole physical, mental, spiritual relationships. How have you noticed? Have you been able to maintain operations during the COVID crisis, and how, as a practitioner, have you been impacted?
It's a paradigm. I understand that when people are scared, they start acting out of fear. It may not actually make the most sense, scientifically based, and they feel safer when they are in survival mode. Now, combined with survival mode, they also have a herd mentality, so if everybody else is doing it in survival mode, now they're more comfortable in what they're doing. As a result, a lot of individuals have decided they don't want to come in anymore. Even when I offer, let's do some stuff, telemed, people are kind of shutting down still simply out of fear. Now, those that have been with us for a longer duration do not have that herd mentality fear. Their herd mentality is listening to the science and the facts that we literally are researching daily. What else can we do to get ahead? What else can we learn to get ahead? And it's nice to have the individuals that believe and follow that, and they're healthy. Not one of them has, knock on wood, fallen ill, and they're actually coming in now pretty much daily, multiple times a day, just because they feel that this is a safe and enthusiastic place just to be. So instead of feeling that anxiety and pressure, they now have a place to go to be in good company.
And that's really a key component of having a healing clinic, is that the energy of the environment needs to feel safe and supportive.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if somebody walks into a doctor's office, which is actually the one thing I did not want. I did not want someone to walk into a doctor's office, be hit by the front desk girl in a cold environment with cold paint on the walls. I got to pay up front, and the doctor comes in for 2 minutes and is gone, and you feel like, all right, why did I come in the first place? I wanted to have a far greater purpose for individuals. The CrossFit coach Ben Bergeron was saying on one of his podcasts how when he first started his first box, he noticed that after the workouts, he would look around and a few minutes later it was empty. And he didn't like that. So he started building a culture to where people just don't leave. They get their workouts in and now there's a sense of camaraderie. And I really like that and it resonated a lot with me. So that's what I have worked to build and continue to implement, that atmosphere of this is the place you want to be. So come in 7 days a week. We're here. You're coming to become a better version of yourself. And let's all have a fun time doing it.
That's incredible. That's the kind of environment you want to be in. I know from my own gym experience, when you feel like it's a dojo and you feel like you've been through something with the people that you've just gone through your workout with, it's an entirely different mentality than just you're physically going through the motions of robotic exercise. That's not as motivating in the long run. But just because it is the experience that we're still in the quarantine, how are you doing as a practitioner? I know you're really strong in your messaging about practitioners trying to pretend like maybe they haven't been impacted and not acknowledging that. So first, how are you doing? And second, what are some things that, whether you're in physical health or training or chiropractic or psychology, that people can do?
So, I won't lie, the facility definitely has been financially impacted when you have, say, 30-40% of individuals that kind of want to put their memberships on hold. They're just not coming in as much. A few creep out from time to time, but then they retreat back. Personally, it becomes very stressful, and it becomes very stressful to hear a lot of individuals taking falsities, things that they had seen on Facebook, something they heard from somebody who thinks they heard something right on the news, and then they start spreading these rumors like wildfire, which does nothing but stress you out. And as much as I try to remain hyper-focused, you still hear it. And by the end of the day, up in the chest, up in the head, just isn't fully right. So what I've personally done, and if I do something, I do it because it's proven, and I can offer suggestions to other individuals. I utilize audiovisual entrainment to kind of have a forced meditation for 20-30 minutes every single day. It's been an absolute game changer for me, because by the time that this session is over, you feel like someone hit the reset button on you. The stress is gone, you feel good, and you're ready to tackle the world again. Being very mindful about who's saying what, as opposed to letting my own mind run wild, has been big. I'll also use, when I'm driving or sitting at home, pulse electromagnetic frequency. Bring in the hertz to around 3 hertz to keep my mind de-stressed or anxiety or whatever it is that may be ailing me there. Usually when you feel better, you can tell which is the right setting. So if I feel that I'm anxious but nothing's happening, I'll switch over the stress setting that I've got, and that's usually the right method.
Is that something I work out? Is that something you have to put electrodes on, or?
No, it's just a little band, the pulse electromagnetic frequency, little band you put over your head. You can actually plug it into an app on the phone. I use one called the Bellaby. The app is free. The unit is, I think, $150. You can wear it anytime. You don't feel a thing. You don't hear a thing. You just move about your day. Very, very powerful to use. The audiovisual entrainment, you get the cool sunglasses that go along with it, the big old headphones, the ear clips. That is not something you want to do while driving. And exercise, I do work out daily. If I feel stress levels are creeping up a little higher, I won't just do what I we utilize here is Carol. It's an artificial intelligence fitness bike that mimics a 45-minute jog and 2 20-second hard sprints. Sometimes that's not enough time for me, so I'll go and find some place in nature and run lightly for an hour, maybe listen to a podcast or some very light music, and that does it good. I actually went on 2 runs yesterday, and I don't like to run, but it works really good.
So you get the extra stress melting benefit, and you're creating a new habit of doing what's uncomfortable. Are you in Colts Neck, or how far are you from the Ramapo Mountains?
We're far enough away.
You're far enough. Okay, that was some place that my family used to go. That was our family therapy growing up. So,
nice.
You know, and you mentioned in some of the work you're doing also a lot with. I'm a big Giants fan growing up. You know, football and the developments with CTE and concussions.
Mm-hmm.
How are you able to help people with concussion syndrome, and do you find that the higher levels are open to some of these interventions?
Step one is, proper diagnosis on somebody. To diagnose, yep, there's been a concussion. The expert here is actually Shantae, my wife, a concussion specialist, but I'll tell you some of what she does here. We use the pulse electromagnetic frequency as well as the AVE, audiovisual entrainment, on them as ways to reset and calm their brain and have their brain literally training it to be on the right frequency, where it needs to be, taking the body out of a sympathetic state to keep it in the parasympathetic state. If an individual is newly concussed, switching them over to a ketogenic diet for a temporary time frame. As much as the brain is craving glucose, it's damaged. So the glucose going towards the brain is not going to be able to absorb as it should, and thus is going to oxidize and actually create more long-term damage. So by utilizing ketones, the body is not going to oxidize that as fuel, and the brain will rest and recover at a far greater rate. Take it from there, start going through some single leg balance training, different movements, and literally taking neurological testing and having the individuals start to go through these testing that you may see a police officer doing with somebody that be inebriated on the side of the road are actually real tests to do. And by diagnosing somebody utilizing a lot of these tests, you can then utilize those tests as practice for somebody to be able to get better at them and retrain their brain in those cases.
That's amazing. Do you recommend ketogenic diets for people in any stage of brain health, or particularly in recovery?
It's a mixed question, because I lived personally a ketogenic lifestyle for 3 to 4 years, and that was just the way it was. I wanted to try it. After a while, I realized that I had a lot more oomph when it came to distances. I enjoy doing Spartans up in the mountains, and I wanted to have that extra endurance, and it seemed to work great for me. I realized, though, through sustained research, eventually I'm going to start to have some thyroid dysfunction, and as a secondary result, some liver dysfunction. So I started introducing more carbohydrates. I'll still have between 80 and 100 carbs a day, which is out of that ketogenic range, but it is still very low carb, and I will have them more at the end of the day. I find this works a lot better for long-term use. Now, being ketogenic, it came out as a treatment for, See, if I was eating more fats here, I'd be fine here.
The concussion?
Yes. Ketogenic diets are for therapy, if you would. It helps the brain work far better. But doing it long term may not be the best for an individual. A lot of individuals have turned to ketogenic lifestyle when they want to lose weight. But all good research has actually shown that comparing a high-fat, extremely low-carb ketogenic diet to a low-fat, high-carbohydrate diet, if done the proper way, both people lose the exact same amount of weight at the exact same pace. The only difference is with the ketogenic diet, why some people feel that they lose more weight on that, because they start cutting out the simple processed foods. And once that occurs, of course you're going to lose weight. You stop eating garbage. But my recommendation literally would be, more low carbohydrate lifestyle, not full ketogenic lifestyle, unless it's a therapy for typically the brain. If there's a brain abnormality, brain misfiring, brain dysfunction, then a ketogenic lifestyle has been shown for individuals from childhood all the way through old age to be extremely beneficial.
Are there
Kind of the risk versus reward is my metabolism, my thyroid function versus proper neurological function.
and I don't know that it's applicable to your practice, but have you found similar implications for seniors or for people with Parkinson's or dementia? Have they noticed anything, how diet and impacting brain health?
It does seem that, once somebody starts going into an Alzheimer's state, it can be slowed. And those that do reduce that sugar intake, you don't eat a Snickers bar every day. Some people try to tell me, but you need sugar. Some sugar is good for you. Your body is going to produce sugar on its own. You don't need to take in exogenous sugars. Those that have very low sugar content, no sugar content, do seem to stave off those symptoms a lot better. Increased blood flow has seemed to stave off those symptoms far better, meaning moderate activity every single day. Those that sit around all day are extremely lethargic, eat poorly. Those is unfortunately those cases where individuals have a rapid decline.
Yeah, I think they did a study on people who were moving all day versus those who sat all day and rode their bike to and from work.
Mm-hmm.
And the ones with the better blood flow were healthier in the long run, just from keeping movement as part of your life.
Of course, just the basics. Improved blood flow going through, you're going to clean out the waste far faster. You're going to bring oxygenation to the tissues far faster, more efficiently. Your body is just going to become more efficient by movement. And our bodies, I fully believe, are designed to move. So sitting around all day is really doing nothing. I'm sure you've done it before. Maybe you haven't. Sat on the couch for 5-6 hours on a rainy, dreary day, maybe watched a couple games back to back. And I don't know about you, but my body starts to feel pretty awful. I got to get up, do some squats, do some burpees. Maybe I'll take a walk around the block or something like that just to get the blood flowing.
Oh, I was going to ask you, because forget about being quote unquote lazy, being a clinician and trying to see as many people as possible, in the current lifestyle of managing a podcast and kids and sports, sitting for 6 hours straight. And I'm realizing, wow, number one, I'm falling asleep physically, and I'm feeling tighter physically than after I go and do a CrossFit workout than just from sitting in my chair. So what messages do you have for a lot of, doctors, lawyers, people who are chained to their desk?
I say literally, get up and move. It doesn't take long to get up and bust out 30 bodyweight squats. That'll take you all of 30 seconds. It actually makes you feel so much better. If I'm sitting and I'm writing an article, doing a lot of research, it could be a couple hours. Every once in a while, I will get up, maybe every 20, 30 minutes, and bust out 30, 50 bodyweight squats just to get the blood flowing. I feel better, and then I go back feeling totally refreshed. But as we were talking before about learned habits, that's not something that comes immediately unless you have that true intention that you want to do it. And doing it once or twice is great, but making that daily habit, that's what makes it a lifestyle. And that's what, if you cloned yourself, just using you as an example here, you have you sitting at the desk doing research for, say, 4 hours, and you get up and do a little physical activity for 30 seconds, a minute, every 20, 30 minutes, versus your clone who does not. After a year, you will look a lot different. Your labs will look a lot different than your clone in a far better way, I believe.
Yeah, have you, I don't know if you've seen the show on, during my binge watching here in quarantine, there's a show on Prime called Counterpart. And it has a theme like that, where you have almost a clone of you, DNA wise, living you know, like on the other side of the Berlin Wall. And it's very interesting. Like people get very curious and why there's habitual differences, or was it one life experience, or you know, what would cause this difference? So it's an interesting.
That sounds fascinating. What's the name of the show again?
It's called Counterpart.
Counterpart.
With
I'll have to check that out.
J.K. Rowling is in it. I think that's his name, or is that's the author?
It's Harry Potter.
No, okay, so it's the other. His late name is Rowling, same spelling, last name, but different first name. Acclaimed actor, so forget. I think he does the State Farm commercials as well. But anyway, you know, I digress. What's one thing you're doing for yourself that's fun? You mentioned playing with your son to keep this quarantine period as manageable as possible.
Well, other than being at the facility for, no joke, about 12 hours every single day, I do. I try to play with the kids as much as possible. Even if I get home and I know the kids have 15 minutes, I know I'm riling them up, which I should not be doing at that time. But, you know, I ask them how is their day? What are they up to? Just interacting with them. Even if there's dishes to be done, I'll play with them in the kitchen. They'll help me out. Go for a walk around the block. I don't care if it's dark out. Get in a quick game of Madden with my son. You know, anything and everything I can do. If on the weekend that I'm done early, sunny out, we'll be outside in the yard playing on the trampoline. You know, just anything I can to be with them. It brings me joy and happiness.
That's a good idea. I've been hearing a lot of parents putting trampolines out just to keep bouncing and movement.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And another thing that I have been doing myself and implementing with them as well is being in the attitude of gratitude. I've said this a lot, and that every morning, I'm trying to get the kids to do this too. Every morning I get up before I touch my feet to the floor, I say, thank you for this day. Put my feet on the floor and go for it. And at night, when I tuck them in at bed at night, I personally have had a gratitude journal where I write 3 things. They got to be different. I can't repeat, you know, every night this week. I'm grateful for my wife. I'm grateful for the kids. I'm grateful for dinner. It's got to be something new. And it'll go, I'm so happy and grateful for whatever it is. So now every single night, I ask all the kids, what are you grateful for today? What's the bestest thing that ever happened to you today? And it's becoming a habit now. They're starting to ask each other at nighttime as well. So it's almost like I'm going in and they've already got the routine down. And I truly believe that it can change around your entire perspective. And very successful people do live in gratitude. They feel the gratitude. They are one with that gratitude. And, you know, that has really helped myself and entire family in something that I've been doing with the kids.
Oh, well, you're way ahead as a parent if your kids are doing that before bedtime. That's incredible.
I guess so.
That's incredible. It has been one of the real opportunities of the quarantine is, you know, the more still you have to be, the more you appreciate what you have, starting with your health, which is what I think, you know, your real message is to us today, and with the opportunity to prepare food or have a healthy meal, to have a healthy environment, to choose the way we interact with each other or appreciate our siblings or our spouses. And it's harder because we have more opportunities per day and less opportunities to take space. So the importance of a walk, I finally convinced my son, who didn't have so much confidence on the bicycle, to take a ride with me yesterday. So we developed confidence in braking, which was a big deal.
Big deal. It's a huge deal.
Yeah. Knowing that you can control the runaway vehicle, especially in LA with less cars on the road, gives you a little bit more time. Yeah, exactly. So, you know, Jim, real honor to have you on today. Please share with our listeners, you know, how they can. You also have a podcast. I know that you're working on. I was able to get a couple clips on nutrition and different topics. How people can get a hold of you, learn more about your clinic. So hopefully, when they get over their fear mentality and they're ready to dive back into their own health and healing, and trust their inner voice, searching for improvement, where they can access it.
Absolutely. The name of our podcast is the Functionized Podcast. It's FUNCTIONISED. And the definition of functionized literally is to become a better version of oneself. You can check out the website at functionized.com. We also have fitlabnj.com. as well as on Facebook and Instagram, which every single Tuesday night at 7 p.m. we do. It's called Healthy Happy Hour, discussing current trends and topics. And we're going to start having some real fun with that pretty soon. But both of them are also at Functionize. So we try to keep it pretty simple. And you can contact me through
grass juice with that, or
we do have some drinks with that. Yep. And if anyone wants to contact me, has any questions directly, just shoot me an email, support@functionize.com, and I will respond to them.
Yes, and again, you're trying to help individuals achieve flow in all areas of their life, it sounds like.
100%. Absolutely.
Well, we appreciate you being out there and still putting in the long hours, despite the time that we're in, and we hope that it ends real soon, in a safe way for everybody. And they also telling you May 15th over there in New Jersey. Is that the current?
We've heard May 15th. Personally, I kind of think the kids will go back to school in September, and but we'll see. We'll see. Just got to keep on rolling with like water there. Just the more you roll with it and less resistance, the easier things are.
That's right. That's right. Anything you're telling your clients at home to boost their immunity, to greater fight any virus that's out there?
So we've kind of taken the case study that's been done in Wuhan, China, and I guess now they're also doing it in Italy and New York by utilizing vitamin IV drip therapy of 30 grams every single day. So here at Functionize, we've also been utilizing the IV therapy. We'll have a nurse practitioner either go to someone's house or have a safe area for an individual if they want to get their vitamin IV therapies. If they're not getting it directly into the veins, then utilizing liposomal vitamin C with quercetin and some hydrogen tabs or hydrogen water. That's been shown to be of great benefit for boosting immune function, especially against viruses.
Terrific. Well, you're really a wealth of information on so many fronts, so many cutting edge treatments. We hope athletes are reaching out and seeing this opportunity as a period of recovery, especially if their seasons were unfortunately cut short, or they have time before the fall to figure out how to get their mindset, their blood flow, and their health to a state where they are living and operating as a human being in a balanced way, primarily, and acknowledging the human within them, a part of being an athlete and not as their whole identity. But I appreciate you as a colleague being out there, your persistence, your patience through my own bouts early on here through this quarantine, and for being someone who continues to model healthy relationships and parenting, as well as operating a business with your spouse and taking care of your health. So thank you for all that, Jim.
Oh, my absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. It's been enjoyable, and thank you very much.
Hopefully we can get you on in the future. We have some different panels coming up for retired athletes and things like that. So
I'd love it. It'd be a blast.
All right. And to all my listeners out there, thank you. If you have questions for Jim Goetz, please, you can either reach him via his social medias provided to you, or we'll put them in the show notes. We hope to bring to you high performers in the healing professions who are tapping into various ways which we can expand the knowledge based on current research and applying these methods to bring out greater flow in all the areas of life highlighted by Dr. Goetz today. As always, please reach out to me on Instagram at Richard Listens, or check out my patreon.com/Richard Listens page for advanced clips of this show. We'll try and capture the nuggets that Jim has offered us today. And you also get a copy of the show early if you contribute even just a few dollars. So thank you again to all our listeners. We hope to bring you more and more versions, especially while we're still stuck at home in the quarantine. We'll keep you busy. Thank you, everybody. I'm Richard Listens, and I'm out.